Then we will join.
Do you want me to move the podium a little bit?
You can move it to wherever you're comfortable.
More for you then, so you have space.
Oh, yeah, I might be sneaking in too, but, it's wherever you feel comfortable and microphone height. I'm gonna join. Right. We're not gonna join with computer audio so that we don't have weird back feed. This make code. Yes. And then oops, using first. This screen.
You know, all the screens.
I know all the screens and see, like, that's like what we run into. Because what we've run into before is we've tried to run it from this one too. It just like won't. I'm gonna give you the clicker, just so if you wanna try it. There you go, there's a little lag. And then we're going to hide the thumbnail video so you don't have to.
So just so you know, what I'm gonna do is basically go over general overview of volunteer services. And then towards the end of a few slides, just focusing on NODA.
Okay.
And then we do a Q&A.
Okay. That's great.
You guys get the first presentation with the new uniform.
Oh, nice. So we do have someone online already.
That's great.
Yeah. And this is what we see on the screen right now, or people at home. So they can see us
Yep.
and then see that.
You really are like a master of all the devices.
Oh.
Look at you.
Every time I've learned, like I said, I've learned something new to it. And it's funny because I'm part of, I work at the public library and I'm part of Minitex with the state, and we're putting on a technical services symposium. We do it every other year and it's going to be up in the cities. And we talked about, are we going to be online only? Are we going to be in person only? Are we going to be hybrid? And no one wanted to do hybrid because it's so hard to do it well, to the point where if you're charging people to come to something, we couldn't afford the amount of tech and people to run the tech to do it well enough to do a hybrid session.
Yeah.
So we decided we're in person, but recording the sessions, and then we'll give the recording access later. But it's funny.
Yeah, we went through that in a conference back in the summer. And the tech, and so people complain, and they were like, well, that's a lot, it's a lot of money.
I had no clue what goes into like really good
So
hybrid.
this year they're doing it all in person. They're gonna record the modules and then share the link.
Yeah, I had no idea what goes into really good hybrid until this, and hopefully they might be changing tech around in the building, and then they'd be able to, good morning, be able to add tech in here. So it wouldn't be too hard.
Let me ask you a totally unrelated question. Do you have to live in the Rochester area to be a member of the library? Okay, perfect.
So you can, in Hi,
Hi,
welcome to Third Sunday Forum.
is this, no one dies alone?
Yeah, yep, welcome. We'll get started about 10:15. That usually
10:15.
does, yeah. If you want to go up and grab a cup of coffee, you're welcome and bring it down.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
I don't drink coffee.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
yeah, you're welcome. I think there's hot chocolate up there too in the machine.
I have an open schedule right now,
Okay,
so I can volunteer
great.
anytime I want.
Excellent.
I'm in recovery. I'm an alcoholic.
Okay.
November 2nd, I'll have a solid year.
Congratulations.
I'm in this church every day for the meeting down the
Mhm.
hall.
Great.
Met those people in that book in there
Mhm.
helped me save my life.
Mhm.
12 spiritual steps. I've worked all 12.
Great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, now I'm looking to sponsor someone. So I gotta find it. I can't keep what I have unless I give it away.
Sure, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. No, great. It sounds like, well, good. I'm glad you're joining us today.
Yeah,
So
I'll be here with,
your programs. Yep, in about 5-10 minutes. Every clock I see is different around here, so.
5-10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, so if you, so the great thing about the state of Minnesota is you can register your library card at any library in the state and use it.
Perfect.
So.
I love reading. I go through books voraciously.
Great,
So-
yeah, yep, so if you've got like a cell phone card for reading and listen, just stop in and take it to the desk and they'll get that number in the system.
Oh, perfect.
And then you're good
I'm
to
glad I
go.
asked. I did not know that.
Yeah, yep, anywhere in the state, you can bring, you just have to bring it up to front and register it so
Yep.
that it's in the system, because we don't all run off the same
Yep.
system, so. So, yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I think I come on a perfect day. And you're going to church and I came. And we had this.
Well, good. We'll get started in about 5 or 10 minutes or so. If you want to grab a cup of coffee upstairs or, and bring it down.
Cup of coffee. Oh, we can?
Yeah, yep, there's coffee upstairs in the entryway. And bring it down.
You have time?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
No
welcome.
problem.
Did you want a cup?
I'm not sure. I had some this morning, so I'm still a little.
I was gonna say, I'd be happy to go get you one.
Yeah, are you
You wanna-
sure?
Oh, yeah, yep, I'll be right back. That way I can see who's up there too.
Okay. If I can ask, if they have the cream packets, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're gonna just, make it easier, and I just wanna set up this now. How do you use it up to me?
So so you need to become a volunteer at Mayo Clinic. I'm gonna give you my card.
Okay.
And then if you send me an email, I can reply with the link of where to go. And do all that.
Excellent, thank you.
Are you staying for the presentation?
Yeah,
Because I have other programs similar to NODA.
Okay.
That might be of interest to you,
okay,
so.
yeah, I think, I've actually been interested in
Hello.
the end of life, community building for the families part. So I'm interested in learning more about that.
Are you Maria?
I am Maria.
I'm Maria. I'm Kathy Strike.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of the Faith to Life team that
Yes.
Carrie's done. So, yeah, good to
That's
have you
wonderful.
here today. We're anxious to hear all about it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is the program, when this role became available at Mayo. There was a line at the end of the description that said, responsible for the No One Dies Alone program, and that's the reason I applied, so. Near
Okay,
and dear to my heart.
good, good.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
No problem, my pleasure.
Are you part of the group that picks the speakers? Are you part of the forum group? Joel wants to do for on cyber safety.
That would be good.
Yes.
Okay.
He leaned over and he goes. It's like, write it today and do it tomorrow. I mean, you have all the information and probably most of the slides.
Good,
Yeah.
I will put you in touch with her.
Yep,
Okay,
look them up.
yeah, we have a meeting this month in the.
Yes.
He could here to do it next month.
He probably, but yeah, I mean, that's what he does for Mayo, so.
Do we have a meeting for next month?
I said, one year old, Joel, he said, actually, for
Thank you so much.
yeah, Jolie knows, I should, security one.
That is always a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see. Yeah, but anyway, that's another one.
Send them an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I told them that I'm part of the Rochester Area Foundation. And they do a coffee and conversation every month, and their cybersecurity ones are like, the numbers just shoot up. People are so finally keying in on.
I would think too, the holiday season. They're using it for.
Right. Well, and that's what it does for Mayo, but it's like, all I have to do is add in like phone, text, and yeah, pretty much.
I'm gonna go, these cameras are getting so sophisticated.
Yeah.
I have gotten some emails that I've actually had to call my bank and
Yeah,
say, okay, it has a lot of detailed information, which is scary.
yeah.
They're like, yeah, we will never send you anything like
Yes.
that, and so.
Yeah. They will test this every once in a while at work, and that's what
It
it
does.
does.
Yeah.
It does. People who-
Yeah, when people say, what does your husband do? I'm like, well, he's one of the people that sends out the phishing tests. They're like, "Oh." So when I was a Mayo employee, actually, once I fell for one, I got it wrong, and so I texted him, I'm like, well, I just failed your test. And he goes, I can hear click, 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 yes, you did. Sorry.
But you know, sometimes I get some very legitimate emails and I click suspicion, they're like, no, this is not phishing.
Yes.
I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah, well,
It's very
their goal is
suspicious.
to make it look real. They do a pretty good job, but. Don't raise it. We were talking about the photo, you were sending the photo. Yeah, what cybersecurity for? Oh, yeah.
Good morning, people joining us online. We're just waiting for people to maybe grab a cup of coffee and come downstairs for us. I'm gonna ask if you can, thank you for muting if you're joining us online. If I could ask you in the chat to just confirm that you can hear us. And see, hopefully I'm on my phone too, and I can see the screen, the volunteer PowerPoint. But feel free to chime in on chat and I'll monitor that on my phone. Yeah, I also hit mute all one time, so I muted us and yeah. Every time I learn.
Learn.
Oh, someone's deleting. Yay. And Maria, is it Baer?
Baer.
There. Okay, thank you.
Here, there's nothing, it's just different, but.
The older I get, the clearer I get. Thank you. I was at the listening bench yesterday, and somebody was learning a very strong view. And I said, well, why? I just started, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
As I get older, I
It's
get
like I
more
see
sense.
people, you know, left.
Right,
That's a really great one.
My fault than anybody else's, but.
What happens?
Funny, years ago, I used to be I'm from upstate New York, a small town called Auburn. And I was volunteering, and I was a patient care helper. And I was with two people I stayed with. For about 15 minutes.
I was very surprised at how common that is. People, nobody. Sometimes we have good people volunteers.
No one's in the past.
That's one thing I haven't.
I had little plans today, a little bit. Oh, I love talking about it.
No, this is like, I'm trying to kind of. And then spray it out. Mhm.
But.
That's what thought.
Good, you need.
Very
Nice.
Of sort. Yeah. We have enough of a group to be there, but we're not. If the topic is most.
That's right. It's a key skill. Step from out and listening.
I'm trying to get things going, but, you know, it always takes off however it wants to.
Right.
Spiritually, just.
That's right.
Hi, welcome. We're here at Third Sunday Forum.
Well, I'll be.
You are now.
Yeah.
You're here.
Pull up the chair. I think we'll go ahead and get started so that you have enough time. So welcome everyone today to the Third Sunday Forum. I'm so pleased that Maria Baer from the Mayo Clinic volunteer programs, the manager, is here with us today to share about Mayo Clinic volunteering programs, as well as specifically focusing on the NODA, No One Dies Alone program.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming, and for those of you joining us online, as Carrie mentioned, my name is Maria Baer, and I am manager of volunteer programs. I'm one of three, so we have Mayo Clinic Volunteer Services, and Erin Pittman is our director, and then we have a manager. I manage Methodist Hospital. We have one at St. Mary's Hospital, and what we call the downtown campus, which is the Mayo and Ganda building, so outpatients. So today I am here to give you a brief overview of our volunteer services, more specifically the No One Dies Alone program. A little bit about me. I have been at Mayo Clinic for about 5 years, in this role about 10 months. And before Mayo Clinic, I spent 20 years in the military as an Army officer. So Mayo Clinic really has been my home after the military, and I love everything the Mayo stands for, everything they do. And so, and I was telling some of the people here earlier, one of the reasons I applied for my current role as manager is at the bottom of the job description. It's responsible for the No One Dies Alone program. And to me, that's very near and dear to my heart, because unfortunately I have had friends who have been in that situation. And as you mentioned, no one should die alone, okay? It's part of, we need to have dignity when we're born and dignity when we depart this world. And so thank you for the opportunity to be here today. So I'm just going to do a brief overview of the different roles and opportunities we have at Mayo Clinic, and then I'm going to focus on the NODA program, and then we'll open it for questions. All right, so this slide, just very general volunteerism. I think that is such an American trait to volunteer, to serve others. And at Mayo Clinic, I think Mayo Clinic was founded because of nuns who volunteered to care for sick people. And so it is really part of our culture, deeply ingrained in our culture as an organization. And we also, it's been demonstrated that Volunteering allows people to socialize, increases happiness, keeps kids out of trouble. And it offers you the opportunity to explore opportunities that normally you wouldn't. And so that's one of the things I love the most about my job. People come with a preconceived notion of what they want to do, and then they realize all the other opportunities we have, and then so a world opens to them. So at Mayo Clinic, our mission is very simple. Our volunteer programs provides compassionate, supportive volunteers who respond to the needs of those who we serve. Over the past 10 months, I have been pretty fortunate to see our new director. She's been at Mayo Clinic for about a year now. She comes from a different hospital. She comes with a wealth of knowledge, almost 15 years in the volunteer services space. And she is very proactive about talking to the departments and see what are your needs? What needs are not being met? There are staff shortages. Is there an area where volunteers can enhance? And because of that, we have opened over 10 different service roles over the past 10 months, and we continue to look at new programs. Oops. So quick overview. Most of our roles fall into one of patient experience enhancement. That's usually the main thing. What are roles that we can create that are going to enhance that patient experience? We do not do stuff that staff does. Staff gets paid for that. Our job is to enhance. The best way we always describe it, Mayo Clinic treatment, patient care is like a good cupcake, like the best in the nation, and volunteers at the sprinkles. All right, so we make things a little bit better. Our team works to really ensure that the experiences of volunteers at Mayo Clinic are fulfilling and appreciated. You're giving us your talents, your time. We want to make sure that the time that you spend at Mayo Clinic, it's worthwhile, okay? And then through the Sisters Crossings and the Methodist gift shops, a lot of people don't know that those two gift shops, the one at St. Mary's and Methodist, all the profits go back into patient services. So it doesn't go to Mayo Clinic. So we have a council who funds different initiatives at Mayo Clinic, from labor and delivery all the way to No One Dies Alone program, to handicrafters, knitting baby hats, and all those great things. You can see there's some numbers. Actually, these numbers increase every month. Every month we are onboarding approximately 30 new volunteers just in Rochester. And so that is another reason we continue to expand our programs. And you can see there about 65,600 hours, right? All right, so today I'm going to talk to you mostly about the adult program. We also have a young volunteers program, which is for high schoolers 14 to 17. We currently have approximately 50 plus teenagers that work at Mayo Clinic, and it is always very interesting. I have 2 teenagers, and so when you turn that times 50, it makes for an interesting day. So our volunteer program provides an opportunity for working and retired adults to volunteer at Mayo Clinic. A lot of people ask me, what are the times when you can volunteer? The simple answer is it depends in the service area. Some service areas require, the earliest shift is at 7 o'clock in the morning. We have been very fortunate that because we're expanding, we're also expanding our shifts to include 4 to 7 and on the weekends, which is great. Because weekends tend to be a lot slower for family members to come visit patients, things like that. So our volunteers are there to create that meaningful engagement and meet their emotional needs. Volunteers have an average of a single 2 to 4 shifts per week. Though many volunteers choose to volunteer more than once per week, we have many volunteers who are in more than one service area. By the way, when you hear me saying one service area, means a role, a specific role at Mayo Clinic. We only ask that they serve a minimum of 6 months per year. And then we have a staff that it's there to answer any questions, assist volunteers as they go, through the onboarding process, and then once they start volunteering. One thing many people ask me is, especially our adults, retired adults, they go to other states during the winter and they're concerned. We understand that and we work with our volunteers, and what we do is just put them in a leave of absence while they go to Phoenix or Florida or wherever. And then when they come back, they're reactivated and they continue volunteering. Any questions so far? All right, so our different service areas are divided in very big buckets. So the first one is administrative support. This is really for those who are looking to do things more behind the scenes, okay? Just kind of quiet. Usually it's a very structured, but usually it's like a routine. Things like putting brochures together, putting registration packets together for the School of Health Sciences, for example, being at the Patient Education Center, putting together brochures, education packets for family members or patients who are looking for information. And these service areas really have that office feel to the volunteer experience. As I mentioned, detail-oriented tasks and the opportunity to be a part of a team. Then we have guest experiences, and these are the one area that most people associate volunteers at Mayo Clinic. It's the people in the elevators, the welcome desk, those who we call wayfinders, who help people find their way. You know, if you're new to Mayo Clinic, it can be pretty intense when you go into the Gonda building and you just see glass and steel and elevators. And so our volunteers there love their job. They love having that engagement with people. If you like a social environment, this is a great area to start. Patient assistance. This is one area where we really have grown over the past 10 months. So one of the areas that we realized we were not really engaging was inpatient care. Okay, it is those patients who have an extended stay in the rooms. Okay, so are hospitalized for weeks at a time. We have the Mayo emergency department. If you've been to our emergency department, you know, it can be long hours, but our volunteers are there to help enhance that experience. And then inpatient care, it's a new one that we are really excited about. And Methodist started in June. Inpatient care allows our volunteers to work alongside staff. Okay, and I'm going to use the word work loosely because we're not working the same way as staff do. So our volunteers focus on non-clinical tasks. That includes talking to patients, okay, going into the room, seeing how they're doing, ordering their food, logging how much food they eat, helping stock and restock gloves, masks, hand sanitizer, things like that. And really helping sometimes putting admin packets together. This is a service area that it's 7 days a week, has 3 shifts. The earliest one starts at 7, the last one starts at 4. The program started at St. Mary's in January, Methodist in June, and so far we have about 129 volunteers in about 12 different units. We are expanding as we speak, and so our nursing department has been very thankful because we know they want to meet the emotional needs of the patients, but they're short-staffed. They have tasks to complete. And that's where volunteers really come in to make sure that they create that meaningful engagement that really enhances the patient experience of our patients. And then we have compassionate care. This is a near and dear area to me. We're going to talk a little bit more about NODA here in a little bit. What all of these programs really are about providing comfort to our patients, okay? Whether it's conversation, whether it's companionship, whether it's presence. I always say that these service areas are about being present, not doing a task, okay? We have the No One Dies Alone program, which I'll go into more details. We have our final roll call that is similar to No One Dies Alone, but it's specifically for veterans. And one requirement that we have of our volunteers is that they are veterans of veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces to do this, just because they go through a ceremony that they perform really for their families most of the time. And then we also have compassionate companions. I love this program. I started this program in June. So NODA is a very popular program with our volunteers, understandably. And so being a volunteer with NODA depends on having a patient who's near the end of their lives, who meets specific requirements. And so we were looking for a way to leverage that need from our volunteers to really serve our patients who are near the end of life. And so, well, we have others that really wanted to create those connections with patients who are not dying, who are just in the hospital, just sitting there, sometimes just seeing the same staff day in and day out. And so we created Compassionate Companions. And what Compassionate Companions does is basically our volunteers visit with patients. We have one shift, a few days a week, and they talk to them, they read to them, they play games if they want to. Really is about spending time with them. It has been hugely popular, okay? And so much that now we are going to be exploring doing a hybrid type model where we have the scheduled shift, but also we are gonna have sort of an on-call roster of volunteers, and we will say, we received a request for somebody to come and visit with this patient, are you available? And then we will allow the volunteers to self-sign up for a shift. This program is so popular that we started it in 3 units as a pilot, and we get requests from all over the hospital that they hear from other patients. My favorite part is when you have what we call repeat patients. So they visit with a volunteer in one of these units, they left, have to come back because whatever reason, and they are in a completely different hospital, completely different unit, but they still want to talk to a specific volunteer. So they are creating those meaningful connections. Surprisingly, I was a little skeptical about putting young volunteers in those shifts, but they have done great. They having the younger volunteers engaging, especially with the older population, they are loving it. I had a volunteer that came back and she said, that woman was amazing. She has all this experience. I'm only 17, so much to live for. And she told me all about her life. And she was a World War II wife. And so she was super excited. And so, again, that's part of creating meaningful experiences for our volunteers too. Caring Hands is a new program at Methodist. So Caring Hands, what it does, it trains our volunteers to do light hand massages for patients, okay? Very popular at St. Mary's and downtown at Methodist. We're restarting it after the pandemic. And also we're adding a secondary, so it's gonna be the hand massage, but also we're adding nail care. A lot of requests for nail care that we have received. So of course we have to go through all the infection prevention and control, approval and legal, and we are going to start it at the end of November. And then Caring Canines, one of our most popular, the doggies. One of my favorite parts about my job is that I get visits from dogs every single day. And so we are up to about 30 plus teams that we have. We have a wonderful new animal expert as part of our staff, and she has done in about 6 months, she has done an amazing job with that program, expanding it. And so they're excited about that program. All right, any questions so far? And then we have Healing Arts. So one of the things that we do is recognize that arts can bring a lot of healing, and at this risk of sounding a little cliche, to the soul. Sometimes beauty, you just need that to help you as part of the healing process. So at Mayo Clinic, we do art tours for patients. We also started doing historical tours. We have the Heritage Home Museum. So you've been to the Mayo building, you have seen the little museum area. And then we have the historical suite in the Plummer building. Then we also have handicrafters. Those are our off-site volunteers who do knitting, sewing, crocheting, one of our biggest groups. I love them. I don't have a crafty bone in my body, so anybody who can do that. Just to give you an example, to date, we have given out about 1,500 baby hats to the postpartum, the NICU, and we do prayer shawls, baby blankets, hand cozies, toe cozies. If you don't know what that is, don't feel bad. I didn't know what it was until I started working here. We go through a lot of knitted items. We provide the materials for our volunteers. So whenever they drops any items, we give them materials and they love doing that. One of our biggest groups. And then I mentioned the Heritage Center and the different tours. Oh, there we go. Just a little behind. There we go. So let's talk about the No One Dies Alone program because you guys are here for that. As I mentioned, this is a program that to me is very near and dear to my heart. I have had friends who have died alone because they were either on a trip to another country and nobody was there with them, or just they did not have any family. And it's something that I mentioned, it is about dignity. You have dignity when you are born. You should have dignity when you leave this earth. And so the No One Dies Alone program, it's a program that allows Mayo Clinic volunteers to be a caring presence for patients who are near the end of life. And we define that as 48 to 72 hours and have no family or no friends present. It has been active at Mayo since 2017. I can tell you that so far this year, we have had about, we call them vigils. We have had about 20 vigils, and that includes Methodist Hospital and St. Mary's Hospital. NODA patients could be any Mayo Clinic patient at one of the two hospitals, again, who is nearing death and has no family or friends to be at their bedside. What that looks like, it can be an elder orphan who has no parents or family around, no children, a homeless orphan or foster children. We have not had to do children so far. And however, we have a select group within our NODA group that we have talked to them and they're like, I know this can be hard for some people, but we're willing to do this if we ever have that need. We have lone travelers, family on their way, and then so companion stays until the family arrives, and that's usually how our volunteers are interjected in there. And then we have patients who have been disowned by their families. You'll be surprised, this happens, it's very real. This is something that we do not share with the volunteer, but the staff shares with us so they know the situation. And then patients with family who cannot be present for the death of the patient and have already said their goodbyes. This one really kind of broke me the first time we had a patient like that, because it's somebody who knows they're dying, but they don't want their family to be present. And so this is why I always tell, and you see a further slide, that if you're going to volunteer for NODA, you really have to think through this. Is this something that you can emotionally handle? I know that as much as I love the program, I cannot do NODA because I was my father's caregiver. And so while my family was there, I was not present when my father passed away. So I did one of the final roll calls for the veterans. And it was once, and I couldn't do it afterwards because the person just automatically reminded me of my father. And so what I do then is I try to organize and coordinate this as best as I can. That's my contribution to the program. So the volunteer roles, really what the volunteer is doing is standing in for a family member or a friend. Some of the time, the family may be en route and that it's okay. We still activate what is called a vigil. Sometimes the staff has no idea if family is coming, and that is okay. Sometimes there is a caregiver present, but they need what we call respite. It is a caregiver who is mentally, emotionally exhausted, and they need a few hours to just step away and just recoup. And so our volunteers come in to provide that presence to the patient while the caregiver can go and just do whatever it is they need to do, okay? So let me explain how it normally happens. We get a request from the unit and we have some questions that we have to ask. Once we get all that information, we activate what is called a vigil. So we send our volunteers we actually send text and email just with the patient information. We send it through our volunteer program because that information is HIPAA protected. So we cannot send it via email. So they get that information. We open a schedule. So they're able to go into we call it the volunteer portal, and they can self-assign for a shift. once the vigil is open, it's open for 24 hours. So if you go in there, you will see volunteers that come in at 3 o'clock in the morning. Or especially those who work at Mayo Clinic, they usually come in really early before they start working. That way they can be done by like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And so it's always great to see it. Sometimes the patient really declines really fast. And so the vigil is only open for a few hours. We've had vigils where the patients have kept going, stay alive for almost 5-6 days. That is outside the 72 hours, and that's okay. We're not gonna say 72 hours, we're gonna cancel the vigil. And then we also have the patients who the staff thinks they are near the end of their lives, and then a family member shows up, and then they make a recovery. And those are our favorite ones. That is a great way to cancel a vigil. Let's see. So, volunteer requirements for NODA. The first thing is becoming a volunteer. And if you're interested in doing that, I have cards with my email on it or my phone number. Feel free to email me or call me and I can send you the link of where to apply, okay? So NODA is an on-call service area. So it's based on a need that we have. Because of that, we always recommend that the volunteers choose another service area just to serve for at least 1 month. And then after that month, most volunteers come back and say, can I add another service area? Just something that is very patient interaction related. For many employees, they become a volunteer. They do not have to choose another service area. And then anybody who's an active volunteer, they just get in touch with me and we get them started. Let me be the first one to say the onboarding process to become a Mayo Clinic volunteer is very long, right? Usually takes between 30-40 days. That is because there's occupational health requirements, so vaccinations, medical information, things like that. But the biggest thing is because we are going to be having patient interaction, there has to be a Minnesota background check and a national background check. So those are the two big areas that you have to go through. Then there's some training modules, things like that. There's staff to help you go through this, okay? Because while I like to think that our website is very user-friendly, sometimes it's a little glitchy and sometimes it can be a little bit confusing and we're working on fixing that. But really the first step is becoming a volunteer, okay? And as I mentioned, the end of life really deserves as much dignity, care, and respect as the beginning of life, okay? Some key questions to ask yourself about NODA. Could this be a situation that can be potentially triggering to you emotionally, okay? You need to reflect in your own values, your experiences, and can this be a particularly stressful situation to you as a volunteer? We have other programs that are patient, provide patient interaction like compassionate companions. And so that might be also something to think about if NODA is not something that you feel comfortable with. And then above all, I just want to thank you for considering this opportunity. Walking this path is not easy. I feel fortunate to be in the management area, but I'm also more appreciative of our volunteers. Just so you know, we, in addition to the training that we do with them, we also have quarterly meetings. I bring all of my NODA volunteers. I call it almost a debriefing. That's the military meeting, just the briefing word. And so we come in, we talk about, we usually have a training of some time about compassion or resiliency, compassion fatigue, things like that. And then the debrief part is we get to talk about different experiences we had during the quarter. We do not go into names or specifics because that is confidential information. What we want to do is provide them an open forum to really talk about their experiences, how we touch them. We have a lot of new young volunteers, meaning, new to volunteering in this area. So it really helps them listening from those who have more experience in the NODA program. And so we're very appreciative of them. All right, and that's all I have for you. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you provide in the parking for the volunteers?
We do. Yeah, and so we have different parking areas. When you do the onboarding, we provide all the areas where you can volunteer, the times, and so on and so forth, yeah. Because we know parking is very important to volunteers. Yes, sir.
How do I sign in?
So as I mentioned, you have to do it online to apply for it, so
Okay.
I'll tell you what, can you pass this around? Just hand them over, you pass them that way.
Yes.
That's my card, it has my phone number and my email. If you contact me, I'll be more than happy to share, the link on how to apply to become a volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
so thank you very much for all the work that you and your volunteers are doing. I work at Mayo and I'm familiar with a lot of the programs here. Question for you, as you look at possibly continuing to expand the No One Dies Alone, you know, asking for more volunteers, would there be any consideration on expanding this to include people that are getting hospice care through Mayo? And the reason I ask, my dad was a veteran. He had one of the ceremonies done. And all of us came together and we learned more about his military days than he had ever shared with us. It was beautiful to hear, you know, because like, wow, I didn't know that. My mom, Mayo Hospice, you know, same like my dad, she was in a skilled nursing facility. They did not have staff to be with her at the end of life. So I'm just wondering, has there ever been any talk of expanding this possibly to Mayo Hospice people?
so Mayo Hospice, it's separate from Mayo Clinic volunteers, but they do have a NODA program too, or something similar. I don't think they call it NODA, but they do. Not just for the veteran ones, but yeah. And so if you email me, I can put you in contact with the point of contact. Her name is Amy. And so they actually help us develop the current NODA onboarding training.
Because it really surprises me because that was never brought up
Yeah.
to people that are getting hospice care at Mayo.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem. And I'm glad to hear that
The
we
veterans one.
salute, they do an amazing job with that. Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that you learn more about your father's experience because I know when I did the first one, weeks after the family of the wife contacted me, I don't know how she tracked me down. She called me on my desk and she said, you know, we knew he had been a Vietnam veteran, but we had no idea about what he did because he married the spouse after his service. And so, and then I also saw the palliative care nurse and she said, you know, that when you came to do the ceremony, it was the first time in 72 hours when he was awake. And I remember he was a sergeant. And he said, oh my God, I can't believe they sent a lieutenant colonel. I didn't deserve it. I'm like, you deserve it because you are my brother, regardless of rank. And so, and then he passed away that evening. And so to me, it was very moving to be able to do that, for his family. That is why we take special care with the final roll call ceremony, because it really is mostly for the families. And so it gives them that closure. And I don't know if you know, if you understand why we call it final roll call. The military has the tradition that when a soldier passes away, they do a final roll call of their formation, they call their name, and so on and so forth. So, thank you. Any other questions? You have any questions online?
No, I had an excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you. My boss would like to know that. All right. Well, if you don't have any other questions, again, thank you so much for the opportunity. And you have my information. Think about it. If you have any other questions that you couldn't come up now or couldn't think of, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. Okay?
Thank you
you.
so much. If you have a cup with you today, you're welcome to take it back upstairs and fill it. If you don't want to haul it upstairs, there's a cart right by the indoor to the kitchen. You can leave your empty cups there. That way they don't have to come back down. To get clean.